Hello and welcome to Kaleidoscope Teen Magazine. We are a magazine made for and by girls of color. Today we are interviewing our Girl of the Month for our 5th issue, Josie. Josie is a junior in high school at the Brearley School in New York City. She's the founder and executive director of Black Students Demanding Change. And I'm so excited to have her here with me today to talk about this organization, which I think is very much needed. Alrighty, so hi Josie, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm really excited to have you here. You created something truly amazing, and I would love to learn more about it. So what is Black Students Demanding Change, and what drove you to create it?
Yeah, so Black Students Demanding Change is a coalition of over 50 students from over 20 independent schools throughout the New York and DMV areas, and we work to create racially equitable reform within our schools by amplifying Black voices and partnering with our administrations at schools. And I created it because in light of so much like ongoing police brutality and kind of the outrage that happened after George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery's deaths, as well as like the servicing of like a lot of pain that Black students have been experiencing at their independent schools through like Black ad accounts on Instagram. There was this big group chat of like 150 or so Black students from New York City independent schools created by my friend Shira. And through that, I started realizing that a lot of the problems that we were experiencing in our independent schools were not unique to any one school. And I felt like there could be a really powerful movement that we could create by demonstrating the need for a new standard of racially equitable reform at schools across New York or even the entire country.
So is that what really like triggered BSDC? Or was this something that you had in mind for a while and you kind of like had the opportunity to make it now?
No, I actually came up with it like on a whim when I was like reading through the group chat. I was like, we need to take all this energy that we're channeling into connecting with each other and like take care of ourselves, of course, and like get ourselves emotionally through this moment, but channel that energy and that passion towards something that will like improve our lives at our schools and the lives of students to come after us. So it happened like kind of in that moment.
I really like that. What has been BSDC's accomplishments so far?
Yeah, so we have reached out and connected, done networking and outreach to students, teachers, administrators, alums, parents, families at all of our schools in order to create a set of demands. And we've sent those out to our schools, and they've been accepted at, I want to say 13 schools. And those schools are working to start implementing them. And we're currently working to continue recruiting schools and sending out our demands and implement them across the board. We've also had like a conference, which we held virtually earlier this month. And we've created a social media platform that's amassed like over 3,000 followers. So right now we're just really working to continue engaging with their followers and do recruitment and spread our message.
What are those demands and how did you guys come up with them?
Sure. So our demands fall under an acronym, BSDC CARES. CARES stands for Culture, Accountability, Representation, Education, and Support. And those are the 5 areas within which we'd like to see reform in terms of like anti-racism at our schools. So culture is like, we want to see our schools commit to fostering environments that care about anti-racism. Accountability, we want to see our schools hold themselves accountable about making their schools more inclusive, and also hold community members accountable for problematic actions. Representation is about seeing ourselves reflected in both the student body, but also the faculty body and in leadership positions, like from the board level all the way down to the student body. Education is about reforming curriculum and pedagogy so that it's more holistic and representative of various different cultures, not just like Black identities, not just affirming and celebrating of Black identities, but of all the beautiful different cultures and identities that have shaped our world history and literature and just contributed to the development of our world. And then support is about supporting Black students, but also supporting Black faculty, Black families, and really providing resources to make sure students feel included, and families and teachers, and also providing opportunities for faculty and staff to have mentorship and growth opportunities at their schools, and making sure that all Black community members feel included and supported at their schools.
I really, really love that. And I wish I had something like that when I was at Chapin. But I think it's really great that you guys are bringing it to the schools now so we can implement that change. I know that there's different like committees and groups within BSDC. What are those and what are their roles?
Okay, so there are 5 main committees. There's executive committee, which is made up of me, the executive director, the deputy director, who she's in the grade below, and she will hopefully be becoming like the executive director once I graduate. And then we have the chairs of all the different committees, and we work together to kind of lead the organization and do like organization and leadership stuff. And then there's social media, which runs our Instagram platform and works on our website. We have the writing committee, which has worked on drafting the demands, and they work on like all official documents that BSDC sends out. Publicity and outreach does networking, outreach, recruitment. And within publicity and outreach, there are 3 like smaller pods. The logo team, which is working on redesigning a new logo. The event committee, which worked to plan our first annual conference, and the merch team. So hopefully we'll be releasing merch sometime to help with fundraising for BSDC. And then there's the treasury committee, which works to just manage all of our funds.
How many schools, or not how many, like how receptive have the schools been towards the BSDC demands and implementing those changes?
Yeah, so BSDC, I think our name, Black Students Demanding Change, we really wanted to couple that, the sense of urgency that like demand has in the title with like a sense of partnership and warmth. So like there's the urgency, like this is important, this needs to get done, but also we're here to partner with you and like work with you to implement these demands. So I think overall, like that way of framing the work that we're doing has been pretty successful. And I would say it started off like with a few main schools like coming on and really accepting the demands really quickly. The first schools to accept were like Trinity and Horace Mann. And then schools kind of started trickling onto the list, and it gradually just got longer and longer. So I'd say overall, schools have been pretty receptive, and now it's just a matter of making sure that like the next steps go well, which will be like actually implementing the demands at schools, because commitment is the first step, but then actually like implementing those demands and then like getting feedback on how they're working in the community and if it's enough and how people are feeling, like that is going to be like, that's going to take a long time, and that requires like a lot of effort on our parts and on the parts of our schools.
Have there been like any negative responses, and how would you deal with them, or how are you dealing with them?
Negative responses, I would say like the responses have overall been really positive. I think like I've heard, not personally, but through the grapevine, that there were like some administrators or like board members who were a little bit like uncomfy with the word demanding. And to those people, I would say like we chose that word. I explained this earlier, like because of the sense of urgency that it conveys. And I think demand is fair in these circumstances. We need to demand like our schools to show accountability and upholding their mission statements of like creating better student bodies and like educating their students to be like global leaders. I think that's like a common theme across our schools' mission statements. And I think demanding our schools to kind of do better and like uphold that is fair.
Yes, definitely. I agree. How many students are a part of BSDC?
So the New York chapter, it's definitely over 50. The number is always changing, so I don't know the exact number, but I think it's in the 50s range.
I heard that you had your first BSDC annual conference. How was that and what did you accomplish?
Yeah, so we had 200 attendees, and the theme was activism, the new normal. And we talked about how we could go from kind of social media activism, posting infographics, reposting them, kind of posting black squares on your Instagram feed, to actually showing up and speaking up in your communities. And so it was really wonderful to see there are members of like attendees of all different races, backgrounds. There were students, teachers, parents, and it was a really wonderful way to like put names to faces, or put faces to names. Actually, we'd seen like who was interacting with our content on social media, but to actually see people's faces and connect with them, have dialogue with them, was really wonderful. And it started to give BSDC like a kind of sense of community that went along with like all this work that we were doing. So it was really wonderful, and hopefully it will become an annual event.
In the future, after COVID, do you see other conferences happening like in person?
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to have them at schools, like schools could take turns hosting them. The only issue that presents is that now, since we've gone national, that would only like kind of limit it to people within like a driving range to those schools. So we'll still be figuring out the logistics of like, does it make sense for each chapter to have its own conference, or should we have like a virtual conference so that like people from all different chapters can show up? So I think time will tell, but I think it would be really amazing to have an in-person event.
How is BSDC reaching beyond New York independent schools? I know you mentioned that there's a national and DMV. So how are those groups working?
Yeah, so we recently launched BSDC National on Instagram, which will just kind of be keeping track of all the different chapters that are popping up throughout the nation. So that kind of will just be like the home base for BSDC across the nation. And then BSDC New York will focus on New York-based activism. And then recently BSDC DMV was launched. So that it stands for DC, Maryland, Virginia. So students from independent schools in that area have launched and begun working on sending out our demands, which is so exciting. And I'm so excited about the BSDC DMV team. They're an amazing group of students, and I've really enjoyed connecting with them. And so yeah, we currently have 2 chapters, but a New England chapter, a Northeast, and a California chapter are all in the works and should be launching sometime this fall. So soon we'll have 5 chapters across the country.
That's really amazing. How can students get involved in BSDC?
So if you're a Black student, you can go to our website, blackstudentsdemandingchange.org. At the top of the page, it says join our team. You can fill out a little interest form, and we'll get back to you about plugging in and getting involved representing your school. Or you could also DM us on Instagram. If you're in the DMV area, DM BSCC DMV, and if you're in the New York area, DM BSCC New York. And in terms of like teachers and administrators, they can reach out to BSDC and talk to us about how to get involved if like their school is not already a BSDC school, but if their school is, then they can talk to the BSDC reps from their community. And if you're a non-Black student who wants to support BSDC, I would say the number one ways to get involved would be like to really interact with us and amplify our platform on social media, show up for us, serve on like anti-racist committees that your school will be creating as a result of BSDC's demands. And if you are a like non-Black member of like a marginalized identity, we're holding a new project called BSDC in Solidarity and Partnership. So that's a way for us to connect with students of other marginalized identities and kind of talk with them about solidarity, showing up for each other, and learning about what projects they're doing in their communities. So that will be a really great way to connect with them.
How do you see BSDC growing in the future?
So obviously the chapters, once those 5 launch, will be significantly bigger, but then hopefully we'll be able to start more chapters within like the central states, the southern states, and all across the nation. And I also envision us growing by working with the coalitions that our independent schools are part of. For example, all New York independent schools are part of NYSIS, the New York State Association for Independent Schools. And we're currently speaking with them about figuring out how BSDC can create synergy with the work that they're doing. And hopefully by working with the coalition that all independent schools are part of, we'll really be able to amplify our message to change makers within that coalition. And then hopefully even further in the future, we'll be able to do that on a national level by working with the national coalition that all schools are part of, the National Association for Independent Schools.
Have you faced any difficulties while starting BSDC? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Sure. I would say I have such a passion for BSDC that I can kind of get lost in that work and forget about other things. So over the summer, that was okay because I didn't, like I had a couple other responsibilities. I had to study for like subject tests and I had a few other like internships and projects, but like spending like 10, 20 hours on BSDC in a given week was not a problem. And now like kind of adjusting to the school year and realizing that like I need to figure out how we as an organization can maintain momentum while prioritizing like my own self, like my mental health, like self-care, but also like my education. Those 3 things are like a priority over BSDC, and kind of figuring out how to adjust those. Like I feel like I've made progress on that, but still figuring it out.
I definitely felt that, like with my Kaleidoscope teen magazine, I could just spend hours and hours working on it, and I forget my schoolwork, the studying I have to do, and like everything else. So I've been definitely trying to find that balance too, of like maintaining it and also like my mental health and school, because I'm a freshman in college, and so that transition has been a bit difficult. So I've been trying to work that out too. So I definitely feel you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you wish you had known when you started out?
I wish I had known what an incredible source of joy and community this would be for me. Not only am I like encouraged and excited about like all the work that we're doing, but at the end of the day, like the community that I found within this group, I think this is like the largest group of like Black students that I've like communicated with on like a regular basis. And just to feel that sense of warmth, community, like fraternity that I've experienced with the students in that group has been like life-changing for me. And I'm so grateful for that community.
What has been most surprising about your journey with BSDC?
Surprising. Maybe just how willing schools and people and just communities are to how accepting they've been of us, supportive of our work. And I think like it all happened so fast. Like we've only been around for a few months, and the momentum, the support we've had, the positivity we've received has been just like incredible. I expected to do some things, to have like, I don't know, I was unsure about the success we'd have, but just like the warmth with which we've been received by kind of the independent school community has been overwhelmingly positive.
What has been your most like proud moment since you started BSDC?
My most proud moment. I wouldn't even say it was like, oh, we're at 13 schools now. Like, I don't think that was my proudest moment. I think like sometimes I'll just like be in a moment and I'll like, it might be during a meeting, it might be like on a FaceTime call with BSDC members, and I'll be like, wow, like I feel like I started a revolution and like this is incredible. And I think like it happens in little moments. It's not like milestones that we reach in terms of like numbers and like data that we're collecting, but more just like little moments where I feel like I kind of get so caught up in the work that I'm doing that I forget to like step back and look at the big picture and appreciate my accomplishments. So I think like the conference was a moment like that, and just like little moments.
What have you learned about yourself during this process?
I have learned, I feel like it's really boosted my confidence and my confidence, my leadership abilities. I think like I've learned that I can do anything. I feel like whatever like the quote, like be the change you want to see in the world. I feel like this has been like I did that, we did that. Obviously, it's such a community effort, and it just gives me so much hope and confidence that like I can be the change that I want to see in the world. And obviously like this won't be a career for me, but like whatever I do, whatever I end up doing when I grow up, like I know that I will be able to be the change that I want to see in the world. And that's been really amazing for me.
If you could change one thing about your independent school experience, what would it be?
Well, I'd love to make a BSDC academy so that I could see all like the BSDC team every day. But more realistically, I'm not quite sure. I feel like I channeled all the changes I'd want to see into the demands. So kind of just like waiting for those to pan out and see those implemented at our schools will give me a sense of if there's anything else I'd want to change. But I feel like I kind of channeled everything that I wanted to see like into that document.
I like that. What other organizations and things are you involved with?
Sure. So I am kind of on the social justice and like affinity side of things. I am a member of my school's Umoja, which is a Black affinity space, and also the co-head of Big Sister Little Sister, which is a space for students of color to experience mentorship at my school. So it's available for like all the way to the little itty bitty kindergartners to like the seniors, and it provides a space for us to discuss identity and form community. So that's been really wonderful leading that. But completely separate from that world is my work in the climate world. So I have become really passionate about climate policy. So I have worked for an organization called Our Climate, which equips young people with the tools to fight climate change. So I started as a field representative and then had a fellowship this summer, and now I am a field advisor. So I'll be advising like students on how to get involved with the climate movement. And so I've like met with elected officials and I've studied policy, and it's really like given me a passion for environmental justice and environmental policy.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Maybe just just do what you want to do. I know that's like so simple, but like if you're feeling drawn to a certain area, like it doesn't matter what other people think, just like if you feel compelled or empowered or driven to start something, like get involved in a club, do a certain activity, just try everything and follow what makes you happy and brings you joy.
And this is the last question. It's kind of like a fun question. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I've thought about this before. I'm not sure if this counts as a superpower, but to be able to speak every single language and dialect in the world would be so cool. I think that would be a superpower because it like unlocks the pool of people I can communicate with to like like maybe 1 billion to 8 billion. And I feel like that would be so cool.
That would be really, really cool. I've never thought of that as a superpower before, but that would be really cool. So how can others stay up to date with you and BSDC? You can plug your social media accounts and websites and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you can check us out on blackstudentsdemandingchange.org. And then follow BSDC National on Instagram, as well as BSDC New York and BSDC DMV. I know we have a lot of Instagram accounts. And if you have any personal questions for me or you want to DM me to join the team, my Instagram is Josie Helm, JOSEEHELM.
All right, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me today. I had so much fun learning about you and BSDC, and I'm so excited to see what you all do in the future.
So thank you for having me. This was great.
So I want to thank you all so much for listening or watching. You might be watching this on YouTube, listening to us on our podcast, or even watching or listening to this on our online magazine. This is going to be available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere really that you can listen to podcasts. So thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow Kaleidoscope Teen at Kaleidoscope Teen on Instagram, at Kaleidoscope TM on Twitter, on our Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to check us out and subscribe to our online magazine so you can receive more information for when we release new content. Don't forget to follow Josie and BSDC on Instagram and look at their website as well. Everything will be linked down below. So check out our online magazine so you can receive all those links. So please stay up to date with us on all our social media accounts. And if you want to join our team or submit to an issue, just click the Join Our Team tab on our online magazine, and it'll give you all of the information. We're always looking for new members. So don't be shy to submit something to KTM. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I'll catch you later. Bye.